Let's talk about a rather common comment that we get here at Nomad Capitalist and that I see all around the internet. How do I get a second residence or a second passport or a bank account that's great quality, that's really fast, that's really easy, and that it's really cheap too? I don't have a lot of money. I'm going to tell you exactly what I say about the fast, easy, cheap right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Let's talk about this paradigm. I've talked about it before at some of our conferences that we hosted in years past. And this is a very interesting idea for me. The idea that we want everything to be fast, easy, cheap. And I would even add two other elements: high quality, and one that almost no one ever talks about because people aren't necessarily aware of this: guaranteed. What you have to understand in the realm of Nomad Capitalist, whether it's immigration, banking, whatever, is that everything is a trade-off. There is no perfect option. The idea of go where you're treated best is that you spread your affairs around to where your banking is over here and the best place to bank, and that you're paying taxes over here and the best places to pay tax. And everything in your life is cut into pieces so that you can have as much of your cake while eating it too. But the world is not perfect. And so when someone comes and says, I want the fast, easy, and cheap second citizenship, that doesn't exist. My response to that person is, you need to pick two. Here's why. Everything in the world is dictated by market forces, by economics. This is why it's Nomad Capitalist. We acknowledge the reality that the world runs on market forces. And so when you go around the world and look, for example, for a second passport, there aren't very many countries that want to hurry up to give you something for almost no economic benefit at all while making it easy for you. It just doesn't exist. Why would somebody do that, right? Now, there are occasionally loopholes or unique opportunities around the world, and I spend a lot of my time, and I've got a full-time R&D team searching for some of these opportunities. But there is something that I want to acknowledge, and I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for this, but it has to be acknowledged. There is a part of this industry that is what I call the something for nothing crowd. That they think that they're just going to call up Argentina and say, look, I have some money, send me the passport. Why would I do anything for you? Why would they give you a passport? Right? And so the reason I think that so many people have trouble getting traction in this area is because they're more obsessed with the fast, easy, cheap, and high quality than they are with getting a desirable result. I'll be the first to say, I do not have one of the world's best passports. I have a portfolio of passports that serves all of my needs that I've built over the years by accumulating it piece by piece, because whenever I was presented with an opportunity, I jumped on it. I remember doing an interview with the BBC a couple years ago, and I told them, I said, you know, I'm probably going to do this St. Lucia passport. And when the BBC put out the article and they quoted me, they said, Mr. Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist is in the process of getting his St. Lucia citizenship. And I remember looking at my friend at the time, I said, I guess I got to do it now, don't I? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, I mean, you know, it's $100,000. I have the money. But, all right. And within the course of an hour, I just decided I'm going to do it. And that decision has served me very well because I just jumped in. I didn't sit around and wring my wrists and say, oh, I have to think about it. You know you don't have to think about it. The issue is that people are hung up on the fast, easy, and cheap. Listen, we'd like for everything to be easy. And the process in St. Lucia is relatively easy. There's a lot of paperwork to file. I've spent a long time training my team how to do this for people. But it's not particularly difficult in terms of you need to go and live there and, you know, do something you don't want to do. It's relatively easy. You just fill out the paperwork. It's relatively fast. You don't have to wait around for years and years. You can wait around for 5-6 months and get your passport. Now, is it cheap? I happen to think that cheap is relative. The guy who can save $500,000 a year by paying $100,000 for a passport, that is cheap. But in a vacuum, $100,000 for a little booklet is certainly not cheap. But you're getting two out of the three. The same happens with some of the golden visa programs in Europe. You want to move to Europe? listen, you can move to Europe and you can set up residence and you can pay tax, you can spend your life there and learn the language and do all this and that. Or you can go and donate 650,000 euros to Malta. Or you can make things a little slower, but still relatively easy by doing the Portugal Golden Visa and putting €500,000 or 350,000 euros in some cases into real estate, or by hiring some people, or by doing any of the number of different things. And so what's really important is choosing the things that are important to you. I hate to tell you, nobody is begging for you to come. No one's going to send you a passport in the mail. No one's just going to say, here, come and sign here. Here's your passport, like you've won the sweepstakes or something. I have hundreds of emails from people who have said, Andrew, I went to Georgia because you talked about it. And you know what? Some countries, when I go and talk to the investment promotion agency or I talk to various people, they're really impressed. Yeah, please come in. Other countries couldn't care less. We have a video about opening a bank account at TBC Bank that has over 100,000 views. And yet there's some banks who shrug their shoulders and say, why would we want to talk to you, Nomad Capitalist? Right? So not everybody's impressed. Go where you're treated best is about finding the places where they want to welcome you, but no one's welcoming you for absolutely nothing. One thing that I've learned that's a helpful tip is there's a way that I believe that countries act based on how they view themselves in the pecking order. And that is, let's take Georgia for an example. Georgia views itself as here. Georgia views other countries all in this realm here. Some countries they think are respectable and perhaps quote-unquote better than they are. And there are plenty of countries that think, we don't want those people. They're quote-unquote worse than we are. If you're from one of those countries that Georgia thinks are better, you'll have a relatively quote-unquote easy time in many cases. If you're from one of those countries where they think that, no thanks, based on their opinion of themselves in the pecking order, that's when you're going to have a less easy time. And probably because it's less easy, it's going to be less cheap as well, and potentially less fast, and potentially less guaranteed. So that's one way to kind of figure out how to approach things. That's why it's so difficult to get into the United States, because the United States thinks it's the best country in the world and everyone is below them, right? And so that's why it's difficult for everybody. Nor is it fast, nor is it easy, nor is it cheap. I want to inspire you. I want to encourage you to get to the end result. You're going to have to do something if you want to win. You're going to have to put in some effort. If it's citizenship by descent, yeah, it's easy and it's cheap. You may have an Irish grandparent, and that may be relatively fast too, but when my friend got his Italian citizenship, it took 3 years. That's not fast. And again, if he needed another passport very quickly for whatever reason, he spent 3 years wasting his time because he wanted that particular passport. He spent 3 years not having the benefits. So fast, easy, cheap, high quality, and guaranteed. You have to put all those into the picture and pick the ones that are most important to you. Because I can tell you, if you're going to demand all 5, no one's going to fly over from France and simply hand you your passport. I know that sounds silly, but what I can tell you from receiving tens and tens of thousands of emails over the years, and from talking to a lot of folks, is that people aren't quite aware of just how much is involved to get to this end result. What I can tell you is the same thing I always say. Don't worry about cost, worry about return on investment. Worry about what you get, not what you have to pay. And so the person who plans on staying in Australia for the rest of their life probably has a lot less of a need for a second passport than someone who doesn't want to live in the United States nor be a U.S. citizen. Right? Your needs and your returns on investment are different, but you always have to consider those factors if you want to be successful in getting your end result. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.